Oh, and welcome back to another episode of the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And we've got another team special. I believe this is number 10. So we've got this one and the final Solway Sharks special to go. But today is the Romford Raiders special, and we actually had Charlie's favourite player, which isn't Malazinski, Tjay Anderson, join us for an interview. It was a very chilled interview. Obviously, we get on really well with TJ, don't we? Well, especially you, Charlie.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And yeah, he made my breakthrough candidate look good. And and yeah, so I like TJ. I think he's a very good player, and he's a great interview. I like chatting to him. He's just down to earth, chats to everyone the same, and he gives us some good insight on Romford.
Yeah, he talks about development as a youngster and his development, some of the struggles having to break through in a competitive league and a competitive team. So really good listen. So thank you, TJ, for hopping on. We'll cut to that after we've talked about last season. So what we do in the specials, if you haven't listened already, we basically go through what happened last season, how the team did. We talk about that. We then cut to the interview, and then in the second half, we look at the roster they've signed up ready for next season, the players who have left, the players who have joined, and then we give our expectations and a ones to watch each from the Romford Raiders. So last season, it was quite a mixed season for the Raiders. They come into the league with what I thought was quite a good looking team. They obviously had Leishram come in. They had Nick Layersdan, who was actually your ones to watch. I've got to bring it
Yeah.
up. I think he's your ones to watch for the whole league. He had such a good preseason, and we were like, oh wow, this guy's something special. And then he only lasted 14 games. Obviously, we don't really know the reasons why. And then they had an import D man, but he never turned up, did he? So they brought in Koi Prevo about 10, 15 games in. And then yeah, it was just they had quite a few imports. It was quite an up and down season. Charlie, how would you kind of sum up the Raiders season?
Mm, it was yeah, up and down. I think they were probably would have been a slightly
Sorry,
disappointing.
do you want to come a bit closer? We can hear the fan a bit, so we can hear you more if you come closer. That's it. There we go. There we go. I don't want to edit, so here we go. Go again, Charlie.
We're not. No, you got to be editing. I
No, no,
can't
no.
be
Come on.
slacking. But yeah, up and down season. I think they'll probably be a little disappointed in it, looking back. I think they with the roster they had with players like Zach Milton and Norcliffe joining, I think they probably would have wanted a better return, to be honest. But I think imports affected them massively in the league, and then in playoffs, as we'll speak about, the first weekend let them down.
Yeah, I think Dan, it's never nice. We've seen it with a couple teams. Bristol specifically last season, they went through I think 7 imports. The Raiders went through 6. And you can just never find the lines from the start if your imports aren't turning up because at the end of the day they are your main players. You can only have 3 of them in your team, and when it's not really working out right at the start, you got players playing with different players every week, and you can never settle, can you?
No, that's the thing. From the start, they were sort of fighting against themselves. Obviously, these teams, especially in our league, obviously getting visas sorted and stuff, is they work hard to get their players over
Yeah.
and in the country for the games, because imports are obviously so important in this league, and they are the like you say the main guys. But yeah, I think it was just that start that really hurt Romford. Really, they never really got a smooth amount of lines. You know what I mean? Everyone was sort of like you said, chipping and changing, and then they never really gained any momentum from the start, and it all sort of piled up as the season went on, and it was just up and down in form and stuff like that.
Well, it was one of them where they didn't get off to a great start and they dropped quite a lot of points behind some of the teams in playoffs. And once it got to around just before Christmas, when they finally got their import trio ready, they could kind of kick on. And they actually brought in Riley McRae. We were talking before starting recording, and Charlie, he was very good when we watched him. He's a pure goal scorer. He knew where the back of the net was, but he only then played 20 games. And obviously, some imports just can't settle, some imports move on, and he was one of them who moved on. So that was then another problem put into him after they gained a bit of momentum because he got 15 goals in 20 games.
Yeah, he was a sniper. He shot so much. I remember watching him. He just every time he got the puck, he just wanted to shoot. Um, but yeah, it was just import settling really for them. They didn't have any imports who could settle until the end of the season, and by that point they were kind of like stuck in the league. I think they were kind of. Did they finish 7th or 8th?
They finished 8th. No, 7th.
Yeah,
7th.
I thought it was 7th. Yeah, because B's got the 8th spot, and they kind of created a gap between 7th and 8th, and like the battle between going on in playoffs. So they were in an awkward spot where it was like, well, we know we haven't really got a huge amount to play for in the last third of the season, but it was just about finding chemistry, and obviously they had Tjay who broke through at the end of the year and really got into his stride in probably the last third of the season. And I think one thing they also did lack, looking at their team on elite prospects, I know Prevo played a couple games at D, but he was mainly forward. They really do lack a point scoring D. Is they didn't have that D point scoring.
Yeah.
They had Ralph who had 24 points, and then Dewey with 11, Pascali with 11, Jack Cooper. They maybe lack that D man who could really take on big bulk of the points. Ralph is that guy for them, and he's very good. But
I get what you mean.
Interesting, yeah. But I think Raiders will be happy because they had 2 years before last season where they kind of struggled to make playoffs. So not the year where they got to Coventry, but the 2 years before that, I think they missed out on playoffs 2 years in a row. And so the fact that they've been able to build a team which comfortably gets playoffs is a huge success in Romford hockey.
Yeah, sorry, we can still hear your fan a bit. If you can push it any further back, that would be good. And maybe just speak a bit louder. But yeah, I agree with what you said. I think Ralph is very good, but he can't take on all the load. And what did he get? How many points did he get last season? He got 24 points. So, and you're looking at some of the other D-men, Dan, and they were getting up 30, 40 points, and they were the main D-men. So, maybe they lacked a bit of firepower from the D, but I think once they finally got the team settled, Prevo come in, they then got Eriksson come in. I think then the push towards playoffs, they actually started to pick it up quite well. And I remember I think it was the weekend before playoffs, they beat Swindon, and that was a really solid performance.
Yeah, no, they had some really good games. I went and watched them play Hull in Romford, and I think they won like 8-2, 8-3. They played them totally off the rink. So yeah, when they did have that team, they were really dangerous. They had some really skillful forwards. Obviously, Prevo, he can play in D. He's really brings a lot to the D core as well when he's there. So he's really good in both positions. You obviously have Sylvester, Laystrom, his point speaks for himself. He literally carried that team. Obviously, Tjay Anderson. They've got some really good brick core as well as the imports when they got them. So they were a really effective team when they got their team together.
Well, Charlie, you mentioned the playoff, and we talk about that first weekend of the 6-game playoff weekend being so important. You want to try and split it or get 4 points. And if you can get 3 points as well, that's perfect. And they had the first game at home, didn't they? And they were 5-3 up with about less than 10 minutes to go against Telford. And that would have been a huge first win for them. And I don't know what happened. Obviously, we weren't there. We can't say, but maybe they felt like they were home and dry, and Brindley scored the 5th goal, and then Telford just got them straight back. And do you think that was maybe a weakness of them this season, that they maybe let in a bit too many goals? They weren't able to shut out games.
It's frustrating for Romford because, to be honest, as Dan said, maybe in the last sequence I sounded a bit negative about Romford, but to be honest, Romford were one of the hottest teams in the league going into playoffs. They had, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th best form in the league going into playoffs. I remember hearing a statistic about it, and they got rolling a bit like the year before. And to be honest, part of me felt like they were going to do it again. I felt like they're going to have momentum. I didn't predict it, but I felt like they were going to have the momentum, and that first weekend really did kill them. And it sadly that's just the way hockey is. Like they didn't play. I've spoken to TJ about this. They didn't play two bad games of hockey. They just didn't close out games well. That's all it was. They just lacked some of the basics in the final minute of a game, and that's what happened. And it was so frustrating for them because they got 6 points out of 8 in their last 4 games.
Yeah, that's the thing. So
They
the
did
second
really well
weekend,
in their last 4.
the sec-
It was for Romford. It was just 2 games which just didn't go their way. I think it was just kind of how cruel hockey can be sometimes.
well, we know how good Telford can play in their own rink, so I think losing the away game is all right if you win your home game. But the fact that they were 5-3 up and then just let it slip down in regulation, they didn't even manage to get it to overtime, I think was a real killer at the start of the weekend. And we actually saw how well they played on the next week against Swindon. Swindon obviously beat MK back to back, and then they beat Swindon back to back. And actually, it's all if and buts, and you can look back at it now and say it was that moment. But if they win the game against Swindon in regulation and close it out 4-3, they're going through and Swindon are out. So it's a game of really fine margins. And I think it doesn't quite sum up their season, but it almost does in a way that they were just so close and they couldn't quite replicate what they had before. And there was a lot of ups and downs throughout the season with imports and stuff. So they'll be hoping next season they've got their import trio, they've got the brick already, and they've got that what we'll talk about in the second half, the Slough links, and they can finally get those lines right from the start and get a really good start.
Yeah, 100%. That's totally what they're going to want to do. They were obviously unfortunate last season with what happened. But like Charlie said at the start, I think one of their biggest problems was they didn't have enough firepower in D. Like obviously the D men they're mainly defensive D men, but at this caliber and this level now that the league is, it's tough. You have to have really strong D men, and I think like you said, they were just relying on scoring more than the other team. When they had their full team together, they had really good depth. I think they had like Novak,
Brindley, Taps, and Tomlin on the third
yeah,
line.
as a third line, like that's a really solid third line. That could match quite a few teams in this league.
Well, fourth line. No, it's a fourth line. They
And
had
then
Ranson,
was
Aliff,
and Norcliffe.
Yeah, so yeah,
Norcliffe on a third line with.
that's what I mean. In
Novak
the depth, they had a really good team, and yeah, it was just that defense that really let them down, I think. And yeah, next season they're going to really be hoping to shut down more games and just be more solid from the back.
I think it's not only the defense; it's just shutting down the game as a defensive unit. Cause it's not just the 2D men; it's the forwards as well, and just supporting Ethan James when he is going to get peppered at the end because teams are pushing on them. And
I wanted to give a quick shout out to who had a season. Obviously, it's quite obvious, but Adam Leishram really helped Romford through difficult patches last year, and he's a terrific player at this league. TJ talks about him in the interview, which is just about to come up, but 47 games played, so not even a full year. That he's still like 7 games off a full year, and he got 89 points, nearly a goal a game, 1 goal off a goal a game, which you just wouldn't put on a player like Leishram. I would have never put him down as a goal a game guy. Plus 43 assists. He really at times he did put Romford on his back and he carried him a bit, and a lot of credit to Adam Leishram last year because he was phenomenal last year. He was an excellent player and he was one of the best in the league. And when you watched him, he was unbelievable. And he came to Swindon last year, and I don't know if I've seen a player put on a show like him in Swindon. Like in that double header against Romford in the playoffs, Adam Leishram was unplayable. He was you couldn't do anything to stop him. He just was always going to turn up.
He got 89 points, 89 points in 47 games. If he'd have played those extra 6-7 games, he's pushing for that 100-point mark again. And yeah, you're right. He really did carry them last season. And I think he had to because he was the main import with all the
He
other
imported
imports
stayed.
moving on.
Yeah, and he proved himself. He really proved himself because he actually took a year out of hockey almost. He played, I think, like 10 games the year before, and then came into this season, and he really had a great year. Jake Sylvester had a great year. Milton will be a big loss. He had a great year, over a point a game by quite a chunk. And obviously their captain Connolly, he had a great year, and so they had some really good standouts. And I think from a Romford perspective, they definitely watched some very entertaining hockey, especially in the second half of the year. I think they played some great hockey. And whenever Swindon went there, we always had a good game with them. Always had a good game with Romford. It was always a cracker.
Yeah, it's a tough place to go to. We talk a bit about it in the Tjay interview, so we'll cut to that now because we're kind of repeating some of the stuff which we say in the interview. So we hope you enjoy it, and yeah, Tjay's a really nice guy. And welcome back. Charlie, do you want to introduce our guest, a very special guest?
Yes, today we had a player who had his breakout season last year. He's only 19, but he scored 44 points in the National League with 26 goals. But this year he's got a huge role on his team and he's ready to take over. We'd like to welcome onto the pod a friend of ours, Tjay Anderson.
Thank you very much for having me.
How are you doing, mate? How's the off season been?
Yeah, it's good. It's gone quick. It's gone very quick with the baby and all that, but I wouldn't wish it away. So,
how much you been on the ice recently? Have you managed to get back out there with the lads?
we've actually been on quite a bit recently, but like compared to the seasons prior to this, like we're in for a lot this season. So we've been trying our best and getting on the ice as much as we can and stuff like that, bonding.
What was the feelings like for you then? Obviously, we know quite a lot of the players left. There was rumblings. Obviously, it's just rumours that the club might not go ahead next season. And then the statement come out that they got the new ownership, and then players started signing back. What was it like for you as a player who signed back for next season?
Well, like a lot of us made the signing already before this all happened, and then we found out that Sean and that was leaving, so we was back to square one. Everyone had offers on what they wanted to do, so it was all speaking and going on with that. And then one day I got a message from Leish, and I was like, this could be good. And I didn't. It was tough, like knowing that we're going into a new season with everything new, completely new. It's like that gives you the big role and things like that. So I wanted to sort of show that I can do it at my age I am now, and show that I can have the confidence and hold a team together as much as we all can. Because it's not just me. Like obviously, Jake, he's going to have a big role this season. Like even though he scores goals every season, he's going to have to score a lot more this season. And, like obviously Cooper being captain now, like it's a big role to step into.
Change,
from Aaron. Like he's one of the best captains I've obviously been with. So I'd put him as the best captain ever. Yeah. Obviously, Coops can definitely do it. He's got a lot of potential. He's a good guy in the change room, and he's a great guy on the ice as well. Elliot Dewey, he's the man to have in the change room as well. Like he's got his character is unbelievable. Whether he's captain, assistant, whatever, he's there. And obviously Ralphie as well. Ralphie's a big part of this team.
When did you first find out that Leish was going to be the new player coach then? Because obviously you played with him last season, so I bet you were quite excited for that.
I can't remember. I think I was out and I seen something on a lot of rumour pages and things like that. And I was like, no, this just can't be happening. And then I messaged someone on our team, and they was like, no, this is happening. Like, I've had the message already. I was like, wow. And then when I got the message as well, I was like, yeah, this is going to be good. But especially when you played with him before. It's you know how good he is and what he can do for everyone in the team. It's going to be a good season.
Yeah, go on, Chaz.
So, you sleeping well with the newborn?
Yes, I'm sleeping fine.
Oh, that's good.
I get the same question from everyone, but when you work, it's fine. You just go to work, come back, see the baby, and go back to sleep again.
Nice one. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you very much.
And talk to us about last year. I must say I was one of the ones who predicted you to have that breakout year, and you did my prediction well. But you didn't start off the year maybe how you wanted to, but you ended the year how you wanted to. How did the season
Yeah,
go?
I had a very slow start. Like probably for a youngster, it was the slowest start in the league, and from the season I had before, like playing in the league below, it didn't look like that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then when it did happen, it hit me quite hard.
Yeah.
Like hit me very hard, and I was like, wow, like I don't know what to do here. And then Sean helped me out, and we decided that dropping down and coming back up was probably the best bet for me, and I did that. And I went down. I played Oxford at home. Got to see Petr Cech. That was good. And then I played Chelmsford away, and I ended up getting like something ridiculous, like 11 points or something like that.
I think Charlie was on his phone while we were watching a game, and he was like, "Jack, TJ's just gone and got 5 points or 6 points in one game."
Yeah, I was like,
13 points in 4 games with 9 goals. So
yeah, it was just something ridiculous. Like it shouldn't be happening. And it was just where I found my feet as well. Like
Yeah.
it was a long time coming, and I found it, and I got it, and I just grabbed it. And as soon as I went up to the league above, I think the next few games you can, like, it could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was like Bees away and things like that.
Yeah.
And we went to Bees away. It was like Christmas time as well. Went to Bees away, and I just let everything go. I just ripped them, and it helped. As soon as we got there, like I had Ashley Jackson playing as well.
Yeah.
So it was just feeding me pucks, and I was just putting everything in. I was just, it was so good. Like it's not the fact of the scoring; it's just the relief.
Yeah.
The relief of knowing that I finally got one in the back of the net for everyone.
What before we even go into this season, we'll go back to the start, and then I wanted to talk about kind of your breakthrough in the playoffs. But how did you get into hockey? Obviously, it says you're a Romford your youth team was Romford, so you've grown up through the system as well. So how did you kind of get into ice hockey?
I think I was like 2, nearly 3,
Oh wow!
and Dad threw me out on the ice. He's always watched it. He's always been a part of Romford and always watched Romford.
Yeah.
And yeah, he put me out, and that was it. I used to always watch the goalies apparently, and then for some reason I would never wear a helmet. One day I'd put the helmet on, and that was it. I couldn't get it off me.
And obviously you come through, you played a bit in the Chelmsford for the under-15s, and then you went to Romford, and you've been at the Raiders ever since. What
Yeah,
was the juniors like? Obviously, you must have been quite close to practice and stuff like that. Was it
yeah.
quite nice?
When I was living at home, I was literally the same distance from the rink now to Chelmsford, so it was no difference.
Yeah.
But it was good. Chelmsford helped me out a lot, and I had like obviously Sean and that was there.
Yeah.
So I obviously always got to see Sean and stuff like that. But the coaches I had for Romford were all good. They were all helpful, and they got me through it, like Marco, Luca, and all of them players as well.
Yeah.
So it was a move that had to be made because Romford obviously shutting down and things like that. But then as soon as Romford opened again,
yeah, straight back.
Yeah, I had to come back.
Go on, Chaz.
And you had the captain, as you see in juniors. I think it was you and Hill and Pascal, who just kind of ripped up the junior leagues as you kind of went through them. But then you got your Romford 2's debut in the National 1 season. I believe you're probably 16. And how did it find going into men's hockey? And you also made your Romford like main team debut as well.
Yeah, that's the hardest jump I've ever done. Yeah. And that's the hardest jump anyone will ever do. It doesn't matter whether you're playing this league now and jumping up to NHL or jumping up to AHL, whatever. The change from junior hockey to men's hockey is the biggest jump any player has to do. So I had a pre-warning from everyone that it's just heads up, just play smart, keep your head up, and try and stay alive, basically. And I think the first game we had was Streatham.
Not an easy one to go into.
Yeah, so it was definitely a heads up, and yeah, I got a lucky goal, and everyone was like, oh, but it was just no one could see it going in. It's like I've always had a floater. I don't have a powerful shot. It's just float it to the top corner and hope it goes in.
Accuracy. What was that first season like then, playing with the twos? Because you got 26 points in 26 games. You got a point per game in your first season with the men's team, and you actually got, it says you got one goal for the Raiders as well. So do you want to talk us through getting that goal for the first team as well,
Yeah.
if you can remember it?
Yeah, I can. I'm pretty sure it's bees. I'm 90% sure it was bees. And
Yeah.
me, Harvey, and Harry Corkum. I don't know if you know him or not. He's moved
No.
out to Canada again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we all got the call up the night before, like on a Thursday training that we have a Friday game, and yeah, we went and played bees. And Harvey, so I assisted Harvey, and then the next goal was me and Harvey assisted me, and it was like we had a third line of me, Harvey, and like Callum Burnett or something like that.
Yeah.
And Callum Burnett was playing forward, and we scored like 3 goals or something. And I was like, yeah, that was the first goal me and Harvey both had. No, yeah, I think it was the first goal me and Harvey both had in the National League. So it's a good feeling, but you'll still take a home goal over an away goal. Like I hate playing there anyway, so it's not nice to, even though you want to score a goal there, it's still not nice to score a goal. There's like no fans.
That's your first one.
Yeah.
You've been brought up in Romford. Your dad loves Romford.
Yeah.
So it's like playing in Romford is just like where you and men are playing.
Yeah. I just rather just play home games. Just play me at home games.
And then the next season, obviously, was the one where me and Charlie kind of recognised you, and you got quite a few games. Well, Charlie, I was there and thereabouts, but Charlie proper recognised you, and you played 33 games in that season. You actually played 53 overall between the two teams. And obviously we had the Coventry as well, where Raiders just missed out on winning it. But that was the moment where I think Charlie really recognised you, and you got that goal in Coventry. How did that feel?
Yeah, that's the best feeling I've ever had. Over the baby, that's the best feeling I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like it's literally like a mind go blank.
Yeah.
As soon as I don't even remember who was behind me, I just remember Mikey passing me the puck, and that was it.
Yeah.
The rest was just going at the net and then celebrating. That was all it was.
Well, what was it like? Obviously, you were 17, turning 18 maybe, and you played quite. I think you played pretty much all the games the back end of the season, and it all led up to Coventry. And then Raiders had this really good run. They beat Peterborough, I think it was. You won that in Peterborough, and then you got to Coventry. You won the semi-finals against Sheffield, I believe it was. Yeah. And then you got to the finals. What was that like for you as just a 17, 18-year-old lad?
Well, me and Marco was the two ways at the time, and we didn't get to play the Peterborough game because we was playing.
Were you playing
Slough.
playoffs?
We played Slough.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Didn't you score quite a few in that as well?
Yeah, I scored 3 away and then 5 at home.
That's the one I remember, Charlie.
Yeah, it was the 5 goals. I went. This kid I was on about the other week. He's just bags 8 goals in 2 games. Yeah. I think I had a fractured wrist in the second game as well, and so we played the game. It was like if they win, they win. If they lose, they lose. They've done well anyway. Like it was what it was. Like we couldn't do nothing because we was obviously not there, and it was like that was more the bit that we struggled with because it was off the ice, and as soon as we was off the ice, it was on the phone straight away. It was like, did we win? It was like we found out maybe like 10 minutes after that we won, and we was like,
it was by 1 goal as well.
We was buzzing.
Something like that. Yeah,
I think it was Gomatic, no?
Probably. He was ridiculous in
there. I'm pretty sure it was Matty. Yeah, he was disgusting. Such a good player, great guy as well.
And when did you find out that you were going to be going to Coventry and playing at Coventry?
Well, that was the moment when we found out that we won. Was the time because we got told by Sean that if we win, we all go, and if we lose, then obviously we're all not going. So
and you played plenty of games to qualify for Coventry to play in playoffs, anyways.
Yeah. So when me and Marco found out that they won, it was like this is it. Like we have a chance to win it, and sadly we didn't. But the game leading up to it was a great game. We all we all dug in and tried our best, and we got through the Steelers game because there was a good team. There was a good team. There was obviously
I remember Huey got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah. The thing is, like, it's the heat of the moment. Yeah. He can make some silly mistakes anyway, but it was just the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
And he's a great player. He didn't need to do that. Like, it's just simple. It was
very early on as well. But
yeah,
Gomesick in particular.
Yeah.
He was the one that stood out for me and Charlie. What was it like playing alongside him?
Easy. It's the same as Leish. It's easy. You put them on the puck and you get in a slot, they're gonna find you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. They've got 4 or 5 players on them. They're still gonna find you. You just make sure you're open. That's all you have to do. If you make sure you're open, you're going to score 20, 30 goals a season easily.
Yeah.
Like, it's a no-brainer. Who wouldn't want to do it? You literally, you've got a bag back door, and that's it.
And then you had the opposite who's a pure goal scorer in Roberts, who scored quite a few clutch goals, and I think he scored the winning goal against Sheffield, actually.
He did. Yeah, there was I think there was 5 seconds left or something like that. Yeah. And I think Matty it just fell to everyone's feet. The 3, I think there was 3 of them. It was Matty and 2 Steeldog players, and it just fell to their feet. And they was all like kicking it to get it out, and it was backhand pass fell out to Robbo, and Robbo just finished it. Like he's got a bomb on him. He's always had a bomb on him, so it's like, he's always going to score that goal in that position.
Yeah. Go on, Chaz.
And one thing I kind of learned from chatting to you in the past is you seem to thrive. I know it sounds ironic, but you seem to thrive when you're around better players, and you also seem to help get the best out. What do you think it is about your game which suits playing with these like imports and stuff?
It's probably the fact that I'm young still.
Yeah.
Like, I want it just as much as they want it. Like, imports coming over always want it.
Yeah.
Whether they know the team they're coming to, whether they don't know the team they're coming to, they want it. And as youngsters, we have to show something, so we want it just as bad. Like, once we have it, we grab it and just run.
Yeah. What would you describe your game as then, for the people who are watching, who may be new to watching hockey in the NHL?
I wouldn't say I'm much of a playmaker just yet, because of the assist I haven't put up enough yet. And I'm still working on my two-way. My two-way performances, it needs to improve a lot.
That'll come with time, though.
Yeah, and like being with like Leish and Aaron as well. Aaron helped a lot, but like Leish this season is going to help a lot. Like defensively, you'll win your defensive battles. You're going to win a game.
Yeah,
like you want to work on that, and that's what every player wants to be successful at. And my shooting needs to improve. Even though it's accurate, it's just got 0 power. It needs to.
I think it's fairly powerful. I think you'll be an arse of yourself. I think you got 26 goals for a reason last year.
I can't agree.
Go on, Charlie.
You seem like you're quite harsh on yourself, but you've got them high standards. And when you got back into that Romford team, because we talked about how obviously you started the year off and you're probably hoping to start the year off firing, but you didn't this year. And then you kind of got into the Romford team again, and then you got put on a line with Connolly, Leish, and you probably around halfway through the season, would you say?
Yeah, it was the back end of Christmas we got put together.
And that's when your season, I think, probably got kick-started. You put in a gear 3 and you got going. Yeah. What changed for you mentally as I think you just turned 19 at that point?
Confidence was the biggest thing. Like, you got to be confident to play well. You can't play with jitters and things like that. And through the first start of the season, that's all it was. It was just jitters like, am I going to be good on this game, or am I going to score a goal, or am I going to do something to help the team? Don't want to cough up pucks and stuff like that. And being with them too, that helped a lot, because it's just like you received the puck and it was just everyone was there to help you. Like you just felt like you had so much time, and everyone drew lines and lanes to find you and for you to find them. And it happened in the hole. We literally, I think someone threw the puck up to Leish. Leish tipped it off to Aaron. Aaron tipped it off to me, and I went down and scored in Hull. And from then it just grew. Like, training got better. We started playing well in training, and it just all worked and it all linked together. And then we went and played Leeds, and we had one of our best performances on the line against Leeds. It was like, I think we was +2 against Leeds. Not many, not many lines can say that against Leeds. Like, they're a great team, and defensively they're unbelievable. Offensively they're unbelievable. Like,
Do you thrive the most? Because obviously you are on that top. You were on that top line, and I assume you'll be playing on those top two lines this season. Do you thrive the most playing against the best players? Is it almost raise your game playing against the likes of Kieran Brown,
you
playing
learn
against
so
the
much.
likes of Tom Ash?
Yeah, you learn so much.
Yeah.
Like Thomas, yeah, scoring goals on the goal line with a slap shot. Never seen it before. It doesn't need to be done either. And like Kieran, he's just like you can only explain him in one thing, and that's by calling him a joke, because that's all he does. It just embarrasses people.
Yeah.
Like, it's good to play against, but also it's frustrating when you make a mistake, because they're gonna do you for it.
Yeah.
But also it helps you because you're never going to make that mistake again.
Yeah, I think me and Charlie saw you in that game against Swindon. It wasn't even your goal scoring. I know you said you need to improve your playmaking, but the pass you made to Leish just in the slot, I think that kind of sums up your IQ in terms of you're very smart for your age in terms of your hockey IQ. Do you think being thrown out there with those top players at such a young age is actually been a massive benefit for you rather than maybe playing on a bottom pairing line?
Yeah, it helps so much because you learn off who you play with. Like, you see someone do something and you think that's worked, I might give it a go. I see Leish will backwards in the offensive zone and send it to Aaron last game. I was like, I'll do it this game. I tried it, sent it over to Leish, and he scores. Like, it's not always going to work. As like, the point of it is you have to use it in the right moments, and I used it in the right moment. But other times it can get, like, from where I was in that position to across the ice, like, it can get snatched real quick. Some of them players on anyone in this league can snatch that, and it can go straight back the other way. But luckily, I got it through.
Nice one. Go on,
and obviously this season coming up, you had your playoff run. Last year you kind of lost it probably in the first weekend. I think that's fair to say, against Telford.
Like, we gave them a good go, but we didn't give them the go that we deserved throughout the whole season. Like, the whole season we had a good game. We had every time we played them, we had a good game. Like, we played them, we was like down 4-0 or something like that. We come back and we was like 6-4, and then we ended up winning 7-6 or something like that. Or it was one of them ways around. And it's like, we've never had a bad game with Telford. And then when we played them away, they used the rink to their advantage. And
that's what they did against us as well.
That they were better than MK, Leeds, all of them teams on that day. Their offense, their power plays, you couldn't stop them.
And that's what because that's what some of those top coaches can do with teams like Telford. Because the next week we just Swindon just come off the back of beating MK twice, and we come to Romford, and you guys played a really good game against us and got all 4 points. And it's like, that's how brutal sometimes the playoffs can be, because anything can happen, can't it? And that was shown in the final with Peterborough and Leeds as well.
Yeah, I sort of threw it with the overtime. If we didn't go overtime, we would have won and we would have made playoffs. But that's what I mean by, like, if you make a silly mistake and you play a puck to the middle, and Big Bebrish is there and he gets his long stick in away and goes down and puts one in. It's like, you don't realise in the moment. In the moment, it's just extended games overtime. But in the long run, in the playoffs, it's lost us our position.
And that's learning curves.
Yes,
and
exactly.
For you only just turning 19, that's going to be a massive thing for you going forward. If
it happens this season, it's getting chipped in.
Exactly. Like, this is what we've talked to so many people about. You, with the younger guys like yourself, you have to make those mistakes to learn from it. And I think, as you just said, next season you'll know how to deal with that play next time.
Yeah, you have to make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you're never going to get better.
Yeah.
Like, you need to put yourself in positions to make a mistake to gain from it. Like
Yeah.
Otherwise you end up just being like I say
you don't improve.
You're just a boring player. Like you just play the same way every time, and it just gets boring. Like everyone reads you and things like that. It's just that's not how the game should be played. Like there's lines to be drawn to, and you run them lines sometimes, but then other times you need to sort of go with your brain and what you think's right.
Yeah. And then I have to mention this because you lost against Milton Keynes away, but you were playing for pride in that second game. You were going to stop Milton Keynes from making playoffs, even though the results did end up not going their way anyway. And I remember messaging your dad saying, "Oh, do you think MK will win today?" And he went, "No. Romford are proud in their own rink, and they will not lose today's game."
We was never losing that game,
and that's what happened. You took MK in your own rink, and you seem to have a very good record against MK in your own rink. You play the Romford way.
We always give them a good game. To be honest, we've sent Leeds overtime in our rink. We've sent
us.
Yeah, we beat you in our own rink. We beat them.
What is it about the Romford rink then for you? Because I know you love playing there, obviously as a Romford lad. But what is it as a team which? Obviously, you got the fans, which make it quite intimidating. But what is it about that rink? Is it?
I generally couldn't tell you what it was. Like in the old rink, the nets and things like that just you can't deal with it. Like if you train every day, you're going to get used to it and things like that's the way I could explain the old rink. But this rink, I couldn't tell you why everyone hates it. Like the heat, I can help. It's so bad. The heat is so bad. It's so hot.
Yeah. We wouldn't know that as fans, to be fair.
Really?
Romford's, because obviously on the sideline we're a bit hotter.
Yeah.
In terms of for the players, how big is the difference of heat in your rink to an average rink?
We are boiling.
Okay.
This is a complex, isn't it?
Like we walk into the changing room and we are sweating after a warm up.
Okay.
Like it's just it's disgusting. Like it's horrible, but we get the fan on and it helps us out quite a lot.
And you get used to it as the home team as well.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I think I was speaking to a Deacon Fielder when we done the 4,000 and counting, and he was like, the heat is it's terrible. He was like, it's actually worse in our change room compared to in your change room, like the away change room. And they was like, that's mad. It's just
that's an interesting little insight. I didn't know that. So some players when they come to Romford, would you say they probably burn out a bit quicker because
100%. Yeah, so that could be the reason.
That could be why you're so good in the third period as well, because I often do find like Romford in the third period in their own rink they seem to dog out the games.
Yeah, last season we put ourselves in a lot of trouble in the second period. Like we always found the second period as our worst period. Like we'd come out strong, fast, hard in the first, and I wouldn't say it's like a dip. I think it was just more like the silly mistakes. That's when they came, and the second period was always bound to have silly mistakes, and obviously that happened on countless games, like probably more than it didn't. And
but it's also as well you'll go in the other way. The bench is the opposite side as well. So because you play 2 periods the other side as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like
so I think it is quite common as well.
Yeah, like you got the long change. Like you have to change on offense. You have to. You get drilled if you change on defense anyway. Like if you're back checking and you change, then you're going to get grilled by everyone. But like once we found the swing of it and we got into it and towards the end of the season, which sometimes it is too long and it takes too long to get into it, but once we done it, we was playing well, and like we was beating teams from the second period and things like that, and we didn't need that third period, but the third period was we knew we was going to play well anyway, so we knew we'd win a game. It was just getting through that second period, and this season is going to be the same. We're going to have to make sure that we get through those second periods. And not just our rink, like every rink has that problem. But it's just
because you guys know that you can get it done in the third period.
Like it's in our heads as well. Like we spoke about it so many times.
Yeah.
And when it happens, we're like, it's happening again.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it was just countless times that it didn't need to happen, and it happened. You lose a game from it. Like our third period is a good period. We just can't always bring a game back in it.
Yeah. Looking to next season then, Charlie, should we go on to next season? Because obviously we talked a bit about the start, the new ownership, didn't know how the team was going to get built and stuff like that. But actually, it's a very big roster. You've got quite a few two ways as well, but you've also got two very good imports. Yeah, how excited are you going into next season and being able to obviously play with Leish possibly, and then also these two new imports coming in who look gross?
Yeah, they're really good imports. Like we've done really well. I can't say we, Leish, and whoever in the background has done unbelievable with the team, not just the imports in general, the team. We're a young team. We have a lot to show.
Yeah.
But we haven't we've got the players to do it. We've got like someone's got to step up and on each line, and it'll happen. We'll at some point, if it doesn't go that way, we'll designate someone to step up and show that they need to do it and bring everyone up and get everyone going. At the start of the season, when I first knew about the team, it was like we're battling for like top of the spots. Now I've seen the team, we're battling for like first to fifth.
Yeah,
we're gonna give it a good go, and
you want to go for it. The offense is really good, and then you've also got obviously someone you've grown up with through the junior systems, Pascal as well. He's probably going to have a big role. Talk to us about some of these friendships you've got within Romford, who's played with you all through juniors as well.
Yeah, like Marco is a great team man. Like I hate playing against Marco in training because he's so good.
Yeah,
he plays different to any D man. Like he won't throw the body all the time, but his stick is always in the way.
IQ,
and, yeah, it's just annoying. Like it's good because he's on our team. I haven't got to play against him every weekend, but it's annoying because you don't want to get stopped all the time in training. And the majority of the time, I'll admit it happens. Like he stops me probably 7 out of 10 times we'd go against each other. But it's good because I know that whenever someone else comes down on him, there's a good chance that he's going to stop them anyway. And I've played with him since I couldn't even tell you when we first started playing against each other. We was doing jamboree with each other. That's how long ago it was. Like me, him and his brother. You know Luca Pascal as well?
Yeah, he's signed up on a two-way as well.
So he's on the two-way as well. He's a good player. I've always played with him on the first line. We've been together.
Yeah.
It was me and Luca and Marco in the back. So it's good. Obviously, we've had Brad part with us, so he's not with us anymore. But he was with us the whole. We've always played with him, always seen him play, all of that. We've got Harvey Briggs.
Yeah.
Great player. Very good player. He's got a lot of experience, like obviously playing with us in the National League already, like seasons before. Like he knows what he's going into. He's already been there. He's already done it. So that helps.
He's played in those men's leagues, so he's kind of got used to the way
it helps out a lot. Like obviously, Joe's going to be a big part this season for the younger boys because he's got Cardiff. He's done unbelievable already.
Oh, mate,
he's done really well at Cardiff. We watched him on Friday, and he's got that grinder in him. He will block shots.
He's gritty. It's horrible.
He's proper gritty, but he does pick in points, and he strikes me as a player whenever he goes up a level. He ups his game to hit that level because I didn't expect him to play as well as he did at Cardiff. But he really, for a 17-year-old, only just turned 17, he blocked a hell of a shot. He
did one massive block. I think he might have been out on the penalty kill. I'm not sure, but he made this big block, and then all the Cardiff team come around and tapped him on the head, but he was squabbling back to the bench. But that's the kind of stuff which he'll put his body on the line.
Yeah,
you need those guys in your team.
Yeah. He's a train. That's the best way to explain him. He is literally a train. If you're in his way, you may as well get out of the way because he's going to run you over.
Yeah.
Like, he's horrible to play against. And you could see that being on his team, that he's horrible to play against. I haven't seen a game where he's not got on someone's nerves or he's not run someone in the balls or something like that.
Yeah.
And you need that in your team. Like Ranny's the exact same.
we love Jacob.
He'll just annoy you. It's
so annoying to watch.
Yeah.
Have you seen him on the pen? Well, you have.
He's got unlimited energy as well.
Honestly, the bar never runs out.
Like he's one of them players who maybe fans don't always appreciate the role he plays, but like when you've got a guy who can play third, fourth line minutes, but go out on the penalty kill and it gives you top guys a rest, and it means he can just PK. The role that plays, I think people underestimate how important that is in a team.
If he was allowed to, he'd do the 2 minutes easily as well. Like he could do another 2 straight after. He's literally he's a workhorse.
Mm-hmm.
All he wants to do as well is just skate. He just loves skating. Like it's good to have on your team because like when I was playing with him, it was just dump it in and we know we're both going. We're going to get the puck back. Yeah, one of us are getting the puck back. Like it was so good to play. Like that's so big for us to have him again. Who else?
I was gonna mention obviously with Connolly obviously leaving down to Invicta, and he's gonna absolutely tear up that league, by the way. You've obviously got, I think, the perfect captain replacement. He's been at Romford, or he was even there when it was London Raiders. He's been there for nearly 10 years. Jack Cooper, just talk to us about him, and he's going to play a big role next season as well.
Yeah, he is the only person you could have put in that role after him.
Yeah.
Especially being the Raider that he is. Like, this season is the biggest season he's going to have or ever had. Yeah. Like, this is, and it means a lot to him. Like, you can already see, like, through the change room already, like, he's different. He's still the funny person that he already is. He's always been as well. Like, he's still funny and all that, but he's got a point to prove. Probably to Aaron as well, because they've got the little battle going on, obviously.
Yeah.
We're going to see that as well against when we're playing Victor. But
do you play Victor in pre-season?
Yeah, I think we got him after this weekend.
Cool.
After this weekend, I think we had before. So
yeah.
It's just going to be a battle of the friends, isn't it? Like, we know so many players that have gone there, and all the players that are already there, and it's just going to be battle of the friends. Like, it's not going to be a game like that we're all going to try hard, kill each other and all that, because I feel like teams that might play the team league below, like I'm pretty sure Slough's got Bristol.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a tough game.
That's going to be a competitive.
Like
Slough ain't going to rest down.
And Slough are going to give them the same game that they give everyone in the league, and that's just gritty hockey.
That moves on to our next point of you guys have got, Charlie, you mentioned it on another episode, we had to cut it out, but you guys have got four players on kind of a two-way. You've got Charlie, do you want to list them out? I think you've got them.
Jack Goodchild. You've got Christian Moore and Seb Moore, and then the final one is Luke Smith.
Oh, he's a rat as well, isn't
he? Yeah.
How cool is it to have those guys to play for you guys when they're not playing for Slough?
Yeah, that's gonna help us out a lot.
Yeah,
like
it's just numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't get to see Goodchild much because the season that I played in the league when we was playing together,
he was at Swindon.
I didn't really get to see him much. So he was playing well and he was always scoring goals and stuff like that. Like he done really well, but I didn't really get to see much. Whereas Smittle and the Moore brothers, I always saw them every time we played them. Always saw them because they was either hitting you for one or they was scoring a goal. One of the two. Like there was no in between. That's all them boys know what to do, and they work so well together. Like Big Moore, like Christian Moore and Smittle, they both speak that foreign language, and all they do. I played with them at Southeast, and they started speaking to each other in their language, and they was like, "Oh, TJ, just skate," and I was like, "Right," and then they just done this weird play, and I was like, your chemistry is too much for anyone else to play with you. Like you need someone else that speaks your language. Like it was just too much for me. I was like, I can't handle this. But yeah, they're good players, and obviously Seb, he's for his age one of the best players, easily one of the best players in the league.
This is kind of his way in. Go on, Charlie.
Yeah. I think the thing I was going to say, and I think, as you said, I think this year is a year of opportunity for Romford. Obviously, you've got the opportunity to probably play on top line for a full year or second line, but PP minutes potentially. But the players I'd name for opportunity, Aidan Wilson, it's going to be his first year where he's got consistent minutes at a team. You've got Joe Tomlin, who's going to get minutes. Luca Pascal, who could get in. All of the two-way boys in Slough. You've got Harvey Briggs, who's going to get his first shot in the National League. Tommy Huggett coming back up to the National League with opportunity. Tyler Nixon, I thought that was a really good signing. I thought that was really underrated. A point a game at D-man in the league below. And then Pascal, and then potentially either Bradley Taylor or Migas Kanags will be playing D unless Ransom does. So you've got so many young players there who, like you said, you big them up because you know how good they can be. And if the coach can really find that balance with them, you've got a lot of talent who is going to break into the National League this year.
It's going to be a good season for that reason. The fact of everyone wants to do right.
Yeah.
Like, all of them want it.
Yeah.
Every single one you named want it. I couldn't name one of them that doesn't. And the one that strikes me the most is Aidan. Because, like, we spoke to each other already where we are similar ages and stuff like that. And we've both been through the same problems with, like, GB and all things like that. Like, he obviously played GB, but he didn't get much out of it, and I've never been able to play it yet. You've got a point to prove to everyone, and it's not just like teams that he's come from, so it's not just Telford or it's not just the Scottish teams or whatever. It is, he wants to prove to everyone that he deserves to play in this league and have minutes every game.
Yeah, that's what we want to hear.
Like, this sounds quite weird though, because you're only 19, you only just turned 19, but you're kind of one of the, you've had those couple years now of getting into it, and you can almost help those guys who it is their first season kind of feel comfortable coming into it again, if you know what I mean, because you've had that couple years, you know how it's felt like.
Like, I'm probably, due to age, I'm probably the better person to go to now, because where my era's like so recent, I know what was followed, right? Whereas if you go to Jake, he's an older guy than me, and it's a long time ago when he played his first National League and stuff like that. So like, it's changed completely since then. But if you want to know things, he's always going to be there to ask. But if you want to know like what's best to do and like what should be done in the moment, like I'll help everyone. Like I want everyone to do just as good as me. I want everyone to play as well as me, and like if we all do well, we're going to win so many games, and like that's the exciting thing about it.
Yeah. You mentioned. Go on, Charlie.
I just like the fact how you're saying, like, as I said, there's so many players who want their shot in the National League. I like how you can be that guy who can go to them and say, yeah, at the start of a year, I had to drop down a league because it didn't work. But then when I got back up and I finally got that goal against Bees, you can kind of give them that tap on the head and be like, you know what, you're going to break through. It's just keep persistent.
The thing is, it's like a lot of players in our team will give other people spots because they know that they might need that spot at that precise moment. Like when I was playing last season and I needed that spot, there wasn't many players that was able to give me that spot because we was different players, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I had to force my way through. Like
it was a team which had been established for like a couple seasons.
And you got like Milton and Norcliffe, who obviously didn't want to Milton's not going to play third line minutes.
No.
And Norcliffe was in the top 6 for quite a chunk of the season.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You had to break through guys who have been in the National League for like 6 years.
Yeah, and
whereas it's quite a new team this year.
Yeah, it was so tough because it was just all about gaining that trust. Like if Sean trusted me more than other players, he would have put me on more. But because of my age, he probably didn't, which I will always disagree with anyone. If you blame age, there's always a problem because age shouldn't matter. But he coaches how he wants to coach.
Yeah.
Like you can't argue with the coach in that moment. Like it is what it is. But
and then you got your opportunity, and
you work your way around
to take it.
Yeah, anyone that wants it hard enough and wants it enough, they'll find another way.
Yeah,
I did.
We talked earlier. You mentioned about like the team expectations change once you got quite a lot of these new guys in, and some really good players as well. A couple good imports. What's kind of your personal goals for next season? Because I don't think players really have point goals, but What's kind of your goals going into next season?
The two-way performance is my biggest goal.
Yeah.
Because the less goals you gain, like the more you're going to gain the other way, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like if I help the D-men out as much as I can, then they're going to help me out. Like it just works both ways, and that is probably my biggest thing that I want to work on. And Leish is obviously the best person to ask and stuff like that. I don't like to say about points because it's hard because depending on lines and stuff like that, you don't know who you're playing with.
You want to try and improve even more.
Yeah, like if I'm going to play with Jakey, I'm not going to score 50 goals a season.
Yeah,
because that's his job. Like he's the sniper, he's the goal scorer. Like, but then it's the assisting and the defending that I can work on, and I can give him the puck as much as I can. And if I do that, then I'm happy.
You're going to get assists because you put it in the top.
At some point, he's going to score. He's going to score goals. Like it's just the way it is. And if I give, I don't know, Leish the puck, he's going to score goals. But the good thing about Leish, I can give it to him in our own end, and he'll score a goal. So like that helps. That helps a lot.
Well, when he's on it, like those games against Swindon,
those penalty shots were just disgusting.
When we played Bees at home, and I got 5 points. 3 of them were assists, and 2 of them were from our own end. I literally just gave him the puck, and he went down and dangled everyone. Like it's just a thank you. That's all you got to say is just thank you, and he'll appreciate it. That's all you got to do. Just give him a tap.
And one of my favourite things about Leishram is it's a classic example of a player when he finds his right spot, clicks it. Because I think you'd agree the league 2 years ago was worse than it was now, right?
Yeah.
He played in Milton Keynes in the 21-22 season. He got 38 points in 44 games. Last year, he got 89 points in 47 games. And I'd say he only got hot in the second half of the season. Like, it shows sometimes it's about finding that right spot for you until you suddenly just blow up, because he went and he over doubled his points tally in the similar amount of games. It just shows the right spot is worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I knew about him. I don't want to say I didn't know about him. I knew about him when he was playing MK. Obviously, I didn't get to play against him much. I think I only played like 2 games against him. So I didn't actually get to see him a lot.
Yeah.
But that probably is one of the reasons why you're saying about the right moment and the right spot. Like, it's a no-brainer. Like, if you play one team and you're getting not even a point per game from what he was, and then you go and play another team and you're doubling it, and it's like there's obviously something wrong. Like, I wouldn't know.
And he was given wrong. Much more opportunity at Raiders as well.
I wouldn't know what was wrong because the team then that they had, like Stewie and all that, was playing, and like it was a sick
Talbot
team.
Norris, I think, was there as well.
Like it was a sick team.
He just found his space at that team. Like at Romford, it was like Romford kind of looked at him and went, "You're going to be the guy who we play through.
You are the main man. Yeah.
On the power play, you are our man. You are going to guide the power play.
Yeah.
When you're on the ice with Tjay and Connolly, you're going to be the guy who gets the puck. And you're going to do everything."
That's literally it.
When you get given that responsibility, it changes. Like the same way when you got shoved on a top line and when you're going to play top line minutes, you naturally kind of stepped up your game.
Yeah. Like he obviously had a point to prove from last season because he definitely done something. And it's hard because you can put Leish with any, but that's the thing that I struggle to see with the MK situation, because Leish was with everyone on the team, and he's done points with everyone.
Yeah,
like
he's a player who
he got the most with me and Aaron, but it's still he can play with anyone. He can play by himself. Like that's the bit that you never know. Like it could have been jitters and stuff like that playing for MK. Like it's a tough crowd to play against, and you're playing in with them every game. It's a lot to hold on your shoulders. You know what I mean? Especially as an import. Like it's not easy at all.
Go on, Charlie.
I'm excited for this season. I'll be watching out for you. Just don't play well against Swindon. But have you got a message for the Romford Raiders fans?
Yes. We want you all there. Make sure you are there. Bring as many family members and friends as you can. Make sure you're loud against Swindon. Go hard, get on our backs and help us out. Be loud and proud.
Nice one, TJ. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it, and I'm not sure whether we play. I think we play. Oh, we play you actually first weekend on that first away game. I think that's your first home game. So
I'm pretty sure
that'll be a good one.
It's a nice away game.
Yeah. Just make sure if you scored not to celebrate in front of us.
I'll try not to.
Nice one. Thank you, mate.
Thank you very much.
Hello, welcome back, TJ. Thanks for hopping on. We hope you've enjoyed that, Raiders fans and also fans around the league. And I'm sure we'll get TJ back on at some point as well. Right, second half then, we'll talk about the roster they've signed up. There's quite a few changes, some players leaving, a couple new imports who've come in as well, which look quite exciting. But we'll start with the goalie core, and Winterbank has moved on. I think he's playing in the league below, isn't he, Dan?
Victor.
So that'll be a nice little step for him. Get used to playing in the men's hockey as maybe a starter or just some more games. But they have kept Ethan James as the star. He's been the starter for the last few seasons. I say last few seasons, the last 4 seasons. So yeah, he'll be looking to have a really big season, Charlie, and he'll be looking to get helped out a bit more this season, I think. And if they can have that structure and new system under Leishram, then I forgot to mention that actually. New system under Leishram, then he's going to be looking to try and steal some more games, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a big year for Ethan. He had an up and down year last year. He's an unbelievable goalie on his day. He had an 8.86 last year, which isn't the worst, isn't the best. The year before 8.93, year before that 8.91. So he's quite consistent in the level he plays at. But I think he has got a level to step it up. I think he can play that tad bit better. And yeah, it's a big year for him. Obviously, Romford, as we're going to talk about, have lost a couple players. And they're not quite as depthy as they were last year. In terms of experienced National League players, I think that's fair to say. And yeah, I think Ethan James is probably one of them more experienced heads in that team now. And that puts a bit of responsibility on him. 4th year. It's another big season for him, and yeah, I think he's going to step up, and he's got a big year ahead of him.
But he is going to have some competition, and I think it is bigger competition than Winterbank last season. And looking on Twitter and some of the fans of Billingham, they've said that this goalie has been very, very good for them. And we actually saw him vaguely last in Coventry. And obviously you can't really take much off the one game. But Thomas Brown, he's joined the Romford Raiders, and that's a very solid backup to have. 24 years old. He's had some experience now in the NHL, won the last 4 seasons. He's also been out to Canada in his junior years, and he got a 9.25 and a 9.26 in his last 2 seasons with Billingham. Dan, this is a really good, solid addition to Romford, and I think this is what they actually need. I say competent, a goalie who can show that he can play in this men's league and level and could challenge Ethan James. And this could be what Ethan James needs actually as well.
Yeah, 100%. A bit of competition is always good. Always pushing the goalies to obviously play at their best, because obviously they know that they can have the height taken away from them. But I think, I really like this guy. Obviously, in Coventry, I thought he was really cool, like really calm in goal, considering he was in a playoff final. I think that's a really big positive. And I think another thing is obviously this guy's been in the National One League for a while now.
Yeah.
And he's ready for this step up. And I think this season he's gonna be going for it, because he knows now he's still at a good age. He's, for a goalie as well, 24 years old.
Yeah.
He's going to be coming into this league, and he's going to be like, right, I've proved myself in the National One League to get to the National League. Now I need to prove myself that I'm good enough to be a starter in this league, because there's no reason why next season he can't get picked up by someone else as a starter. You never know. He could get picked up elsewhere. And he's gonna be a really hungry goaltender, and he's going to be wanting to prove a point for himself in this league.
Yeah, it's one of them where if Ethan James also does get an injury, because Ethan only played 38 games last season, it does take a load off him. I think he gets a couple of injuries possibly because he's relied on a lot to play a lot of games. So actually, I think this could be a really positive season for Ethan as well, and this could be the kind of healthy competition he needs. The D in front of them, though, and there was a lot of question. Well, before we even get into that, there was a lot of question marks over the season. Would even go ahead for Romford. Obviously, the new ownership, but the new ownership was come around quite swiftly. They got it come in, and they obviously Leishram's the new head coach. You would have heard it in well, I say player coach. You would have heard it in the Tjay interview. And yeah, we were wondering because they're going to lose so many players, which they did. How are they going to replace some of these players? But they have kept a couple of the core players, Charlie. And first of all, Jack Cooper, he's been made captain, which is a big decision, obviously, with Connolly going. That's a huge loss. Dan, you'd back this up. He's probably one of the best captains, if not the best, we've seen in the National League. And every player who's played with him has said he's such a good captain. So it's a big load to Jack Cooper, isn't it, to take on that role? But I think if you're going to pick anyone, like we said in the interview, it's Jack Cooper.
Yeah. He knows what it means to be a Romford boy.
Yeah.
He's had 10 years there now. He's deserving of that captaincy. He's 28, experienced head in that locker room. They've got a core group of guys who can support him as well. Hinted by, I don't know if they've announced assistant captains yet, but I'm sure I could probably guess the names of the assistant captains. I don't know who they are genuinely, but I'm sure I could guess the names. So yeah, it's a good signing. A good signing. I think a good captain appointment. I think he'll do a good job, and I think he would have learned a lot from Aaron Connolly as a captain. And you've got other players in that team who are leaders. You've got Elliot Dewey, who was ex-Basingstoke captain. I've heard he's really good in the dressing room. You've obviously got Jake Sylvester. You've got Leishram, who's the coach. Jacob Ransom. I'm sure all of these boys kind of can help support Jack Cooper and his team. But yeah, I think that's a great captain appointment, and I think he's the type of captain who'll get on the ice on a penalty kill and he'll block a shot and he'll do anything to make sure that the puck doesn't go in the back of the net, which is what you want from a captain.
Again, I was going to say we might see a different kind of Jack Cooper this season as well. It's a lot of responsibility, but this might be the boost he needs as well to have an even better season. They've also signed or re-signed, shall I say, Pascal. And obviously Tjay spoke highly of him growing up through the junior system. He's had a couple seasons now, Dan, to settle in the league. He's still only 21 years old as well. And I think he's very confident on the puck. And with the forwards they've signed up, some of the really good import forwards they've signed up, if he can just get it off his stick onto one of their sticks to start up that counter in that Romford arena, I think he's going to pick up a lot of assists this season or further assists.
Yeah, 100%. He's still. I reckon he's still going to want to bulk up a little bit. Get that.
He's only 5'9".
Yeah, so he's going to obviously want to get his size up to be in that decor. But this is another guy he's going to be hungry. Like they've had a few move rounds in the roster and stuff, and he's going to see the opportunity. He's going to be going for it. He's obviously had a few seasons now. He's sort of comfortable in this league. He can feel confident in himself going into this season. But that's the thing. He's just got to stay confident in himself and his abilities and just prove it that he can be that guy. And at such a young age as well, he's only going to get better. And yeah, just keep growing within the Romford development.
Yeah, I like Pascal. He impressed me in some of those big games, especially his first Coventry appearance as well. Go on, Charlie.
One thing I was going to say about Pascal is spoken to Tjay and just looking at his stats now, he's scored a point in a game at National 1 level. And of course, I know it's not as simple as you score a point in a game at National. It's not going to like transfer over to the National League simply, but he's got the potential to score points.
Yeah.
He has it in him. He did it at junior. He did it at National 1. And I think this year will be a good step up to really maybe push for that 20 points as a D-man and trying to slowly build that offensive game. Of course, when you join the National League, your number one priority as a defenseman is defense. But I think this year, we'll maybe see a bit more offense from Pascal. And I'd imagine personally, if I was the coach, and I think Leishram will, I'd imagine he'll be in the top 4D in terms of he'll be in the top 4 the whole season.
Yeah,
he'll play an increased amount of minutes this year. And if that's the case, we're going to see him develop even more.
He's played on the top four a bit there and thereabouts sometimes, especially when they've had Diat injured. And now he's had the couple seasons. He should be able to take on that responsibility with a bigger guy next to him. So it'll be interesting to see where he plays. It'll be interesting to see where a lot of these players play. And then looking at the rest of the Raiders decor, they have signed up Dewey again. Obviously, Dan, you know Dewey. I think TJ talked a bit about him, just experience to go in that back end. He can play on the top two lines if he needs to, but he's also a really good third liner as well. So I think that's a really good one. And then Sean Barry, Charlie, I think he's signed up as is he? What is he? Is he a
director?
A director, but he's also can play if they need him to, and he's always had that kind of role, hasn't he? Where he's been in and out sometimes.
Yeah, he's not bad, and D was looking the position they were maybe a bit more shallow in when it comes to depth. He's still only 30. He does his job. He's decent at what he does. So yeah, he can play a role if needed. I'm surprised actually. I just looked at his stats. He got 32 points in one National League season.
Yeah, so no, he was one
not a bad D man at this level, and he's a director as well. I'm not officially sure what that means, but I think it means he's got some sort of like leadership role in there, and he's taken on some responsibility for Romford this year, and so yeah, fair play to him, and yeah, he's a good addition in a decor which needs bodies when maybe one goes down, etc.
Yeah. Before we get on to the couple new lads, Ralph as well, we don't need to talk too much about him. We talked about him being the main one in the first half, and I think he just needs a bit of help as the main D-man because he can't take on all of the load. So I think not TJ, sorry, Lation will be looking for a couple of these D-man to really make that big step up, that next level this season after having a couple years in the National. So Ralph is back. And then the first one, Dan, who's come back to the National League after playing in the NIHL 1 last season, and he was actually the captain of the Sheffield Scimitars, is Tyler Nixon. Now, he has had National League experience, so this is why I think he will settle in fairly quickly. I don't think it will take too long for him to settle in. He got 32 points in 32 games as a D-man with 15 goals. And I know the level of the NIHL 1 isn't as strong as the National League, but if you're getting that amount of points and responsibility in that Sheffield Scimitars team, who are not one of the top teams in that league either, I think he's going to be a big role in this Raiders team as well. It was one we didn't see coming, actually.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't see it coming. I'm guessing because Lation had that little link with MK, obviously, a few seasons ago. He sort of kept a little eye on him. But yeah, I think when I saw him play for MK, I don't think he looked out of place at all. No. I thought he was another really good puck carrier. Carried the puck really well. Had a nice shot. Really good eye for a pass as well. So I think, yeah, but the problem with MK is he never had that responsibility. He was always sort of the bottom end D-man. But now coming into this Romford team, they're going to be giving him that responsibility. He's going to be depended upon quite a bit compared to what he was like at MK. So I think bringing him back into the National League with this improved style of play, I think he's going to be quite important for this Romford decor going into the season.
I'm interested to see, will he go straight onto the top two lines, Charlie, do you reckon? Or do you think the first few games he might settle back in on a third line? Because he was a third liner for MK in their decor. But I really do think he's got an offensive output to bring, which we said in the first half, they lacked a bit of points in D. This guy's, I think, in more games as well, Tyler's definitely going to bring some more points to this team.
Yeah, I remember the tweet came out and I said, Jack, I think that's a really solid signing for Milton Keynes. Not Milton Keynes, Raiders. He did sign for Milton Keynes like 2 years ago. But yeah, I think he's had his taste in the National League. With Milton Keynes, he played half a year there and then a full year there. He got sent back to the Sheffield, where he's from, I believe, and he played a full year as captain of the team. So he's got a level of leadership. He was the second top point scorer of his team. And then now I think he seems like quite a hungry player. Seems like he wants his chance. Do you know what I mean? He seems like he's wanting this opportunity, and I think the best players in the National League are ones who want it, ones who really want to be in it. And I think Romford will see that from a lot of players in their team this year, and I think Nixon will be a part of that. This is their chance to show that they are not National One players, and that they are National League players, and that they are good NIHL players. And I think this is Nixon's season to really prove it. And I actually think this is one of the teams, Romford, which probably has the most amount of wants to watches we could choose.
Yeah,
because there are so many players. A lot of new players and a lot of players who need to prove a point.
Yeah, I think that's can be a good thing. Obviously, they're all going to be going for it. They're going to be giving it all, fighting for positions, and I think that's a big positive. But also, it might take a bit of time for them to settle back in. We'll have to see how it goes. But that completes the D core. They've got a couple two ways as well. Bradley Taylor's come in. He's a young D man who's going to be with the Buccaneers and the Raiders if they need him as well. And then also a part Lithuanian. So I'm surprised Slava's not hooked him up. No, I'm joking. But Megas Kanyas, he's also on a two-way with the Buccaneers and the Raiders this season as well. And we have seen a couple of players getting those chances, and we might see him even more with Leish in charge as well. So it's really interesting to see how Leish is going to manage this team, manage the two-way systems, and the system which we'll talk about in a minute with the Slough Jets. But let's get into the forward core, because there is quite a lot of them. We'll start with the guys who are not returning. Koi Prevo, really nice guy. We've had him on the podcast. I think he's going back home, so he's not going to be returning. But he was a good little import. He got more than a point per game, Charlie. Obviously, helped out in D. It was very important for them to actually have him last season, because with the struggles they did have in D, he did cover quite a bit, and then he finally got his forward role, didn't he?
I didn't mind Prevo. I thought he was like a decent import at this level, and he's what Romford needed, because he didn't leave. He stayed. And yeah, that was important. And he was a really nice guy. He was really passionate about hockey. And yeah, he picked up 45 points, 38 games. Yeah, I thought he was solid. I thought he was really good.
Yeah,
a decent import. He played in some good leagues as well. So yeah, fair play to him. And I think they'll miss a bit of his work rate. It was one of the harder working imports. Sometimes you get imports who think they know it all sometimes, and they're quite flashy players, but they don't do the two-way game. But I think Prevo thrived on his two-way game and how hard he'd work.
Yeah. He was a very hard worker, and we wish Prevo good luck. We've got him on the socials as well to keep in touch wherever he goes. So, yeah, really nice guy, and he will be a miss. But they have brought in two kind of different imports, I think, who are much stronger, because the import level has gone up. But Dan, they have lost quite a few players. A lot of Brit forwards. Obviously, Norcliffe's moved on. Aaron Connolly's moved on. Mikey Powers moved on. We forgot to mention that Callum Wells as well. He moved on from D. And they've all gone down a league. And we even thought some other players might go down a league as well, but they have stayed with the Raiders. They are going to be quite big losses in that Brit department, because and Zach Milton as well. He's obviously gone up to the Elite League and getting his opportunity. So good luck to him next season. But they are big losses, because you can see, looking at the squad, they are lacking a couple of top end Brits, aren't they?
Yeah, when you look at especially Connolly, Connolly takes up a lot of the workload.
Yeah.
Just on his own. Like when you think of Romford, I always used to think of Connolly. Just because of the impact that he has on the ice and off the ice. I think he just really molds that team together. And then obviously, yeah, like Milton and Norcliffe, they come off some really good seasons in Basingstoke, some tough seasons as well for the team. And then obviously getting that move to Romford, they're going to be huge losses on the points. Mikey Power was always that. He always played with an edge. He could play in D as well. He played in D and forward. Played at that gritty game so he can get the team fired up. Yeah, it's just, I think these players just come to a point in their career where they feel like going down a league is better for them. Obviously, they've got their own life to do as well, so having that balance is always important. But
they're going to tear the league below apart, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think Connolly is ridiculous to be playing at that level, isn't he? But this is the other point that we've made, that they do have lives as well outside of hockey, and it just suits him playing back home, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'll definitely be watching them. definitely be seeing them on Twitter, seeing their name a lot.
Romford are playing Invicta in a pre-season, so that'll be an interesting little battle, won't it?
There we go. Put Winterbank in goal as well. He's got a Romford boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just going to be a lot of characters lost in that dressing room from last season. So it's almost a chance for Lasham now to make that new identity sort of on this team and sort of putting his effect into the team and seeing what he can do with the players that he's got.
Yeah, Charlie, there is one more who's left, but I'll ask you a question once we've gone through the roster because I think it is quite. We've talked about it before the podcast. A couple who they've managed to keep though and sign on. Joe Tomlin, he is back, and I think we do need to talk about him just a bit because he has been playing with the Cardiff Devils. I don't think we saw this coming. There's not been announced that he's on a two-way with Cardiff, or if he has, I must have missed it. But we actually watched him, Charlie, and this guy is an absolute grinder, a battler. He puts his all into every shift. And this could be a really big season for it, couldn't it? This could be a really big season for him, couldn't it?
Yeah, I'll put money on the fact he'll be a good fighter one day as well.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to truck some people, I can already tell you that for free.
He follows through on his hits.
Yeah, he's a tough boy. I like him. He's a Romford boy. Like he's a Romford boy. He plays the Romford way. Blocked a big shot in the Cardiff game, and yeah, I think this guy will play a big role on their third line this year. He's got that third line grindiness about him. You never know; he may get that opportunity on the top six. Cardiff fans loved him. I saw a tweet saying, "Can we sign that Joe Tomlin up for the season?"
Oh.
People like him because he plays with passion. He plays like it's his last game, and that's what I like. I like players like that. I like players who will block shots, and that's what a coach wants as well. And so I think, maybe even see him on the PK this year. Who knows? It's a big season for him, and he's just a really good young talent. Like, just to put into context, he turned 17 literally about 2 weeks ago. So, like, he's so young. He's got a whole year of a cage still to go. And
he was playing against some of the GB team.
He played with an ex-NHLer. Like, fair play to him. Like, he's doing really well, and I don't think maybe people. I definitely didn't give him enough respect, like in terms of how actually he's a very good player.
I think it's come out of the blue though, because obviously we've seen him last season. He was pretty good, and he picked up I think 7 points when he played, which is a good little return. But I don't think anyone saw the sprout this quick, and it sometimes it just does happen with players.
Yeah, and what I'm also really excited for is like he's gonna be buzzing. He's gonna come into this Romford team and be like, I just play for Cardiff and I play flipping good. like I'm 17, I play for Cardiff, I play well, and I don't think he's the type of player to get his head too big, but it should give him the confidence that when he comes back into the National League, that he is good enough for the National League. He's a good player. And I think we're going to see that this year. And I think Romford, what's exciting about them is they've got a lot of young talent. And that's really exciting. And I've just looked at his elite prospects profile picture. And it's half Romford, half Cardiff. And that's sick, man. Like, fair play to him, man. Big up Joe Tomlin. He's got a great season ahead of him. And he's someone I'm rooting on. I like players like Joe. He's just he's got
he just gets down on with it, and he'll take any opportunity.
As a coach. They're the players every coach wants. Players who are going to block you a shot and then go out the other end, and they're going to work their bum off. And I like that. I think he's got a good career ahead of him.
Yeah, I think we could be seeing his name mentioned at the end of the episode, possibly. They have re-signed a couple more forwards as well. Brandon Ailiff is back. We know what Brandon Ailiff is about. He's one of the quickest players in the league. He's one of the most frustrating players in the league. He scored countless breakaway goals against Swindon. It's becoming a theme now. So he's back. And then we've got the grinder himself, Mr. PK, Jacob Ranson. He could do a 5-minute shift and he still wouldn't run out of breath. And he's a really nice guy as well. Obviously, we had him on last season's Raiders special. So he's back, which I think will be a big positive because he brings a bit of experience to the team as well. And then the final player who's back is Jakey Sylvester, Charlie. Oh, I actually asked Ben about this. Jakey Sylvester's got an even bigger role to play. I know he scored a lot of goals last season, Dan. He got 40 goals in 48 games, which is, for a Brit, that is import level goal scoring. He's going to have even more, you'd say, because of the likes of Connolly and Milton leaving. He's got to take on even more goal loads, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's so good. Like, the thing that I love about Sylvester is he's a Romford guy through and through. Like, I remember when Romford first came into our league, I always remember him. Like, he's been there since day one, and the thing that's what I love about him. He's grown with the club. He's grown his game with the club, and he's never looked like he's going to leave. He's always like, when you think of Sylvester, you're like, oh yeah, he's re-signed. Oh yeah, he's re-signed. Like,
Yeah.
there's never been like rumors of him leaving. Like, I know rumors are nothing to go by, but you never hear anything about him apart from being a Romford player.
Yeah.
And I think players like that are so important because the fans love him. He obviously loves Romford, and the stuff that he does on the ice is so good. And for a Brit, he's so important, especially for Leitrim to keep, because the players that they have missed, he's going to be so big, and I think he's going to be a really important part of this team.
Another player we did miss is Tjay Anderson himself. We're not actually going to talk about him too much because Charlie's talked about him a lot last season, and we also had him on as the guest. But he has got another big role to play, an even bigger role because he should be on the top two lines. And he did really well with Leish last season, so he's got a massive role to play, and he's had that season now in the national, so he's going to be wanting to get 60, 70, even 80 points this season, I reckon, on that top line. So he's back, and then obviously Leish is back as the player coach. And then they've got quite a few new players, so we'll go through them quite quickly. And the first one we want to mention, because TJ's been speaking good things of him as well, actually, is Mr. Aidan Wilson. And Charlie, he didn't really get too much of an opportunity at Telford on one of those bigger roles, but I think this is the perfect move for him to really establish himself in the National League. We know he's a rat. We know that he throws his body around, but he's also got that skill element to him as well. He's played abroad, and he's also played for the GB setups in his youth as well.
Yeah, he's only 19. He's played in Sweden. He's played in America. He's got talent. He just hasn't had that home yet. And I think, like I said, there's players who want opportunities. This is their chance to prove they're National League players. And I could say it for every single player, but when we have another player like that, I'm going to say same thing again, because these guys are players who are going to be hungry. They're going to want to prove themselves, and they're going to give everything they can to establish themselves as National League players.
Yeah, I agree. I think he has got to chip in with the points this season. I think there's playing that ratty game and what he did at Telford. I think that was his role at Telford, but I think he'll have a slightly different role this season, Dan, because he will chip in with a bit more points because he will just get given a bit more opportunity.
Yeah, there's spaces in that roster for him to go into.
Yeah.
I think because he did have that role in Telford, I don't think we saw the best of him. I think we didn't really see the skill side of his game. But yeah, put him in that Romford team and get him under Leitrim. Leitrim will tell him what he wants from him, and I'm sure he's going to provide it. He's definitely not a bad player, and I think we're definitely going to see a different Aidan Wilson than what we saw last year because of the role that he has and because of the opportunities he's going to get in this Romford team. He's going to get a lot more ice time, maybe work himself onto the special teams. He's just going to be, like Charlie said, again, hungry. He's going to be wanting those opportunities and he's going to want to show what he can do. So, yeah, it's going to be really big for him.
Yeah, and then there's Tommy Huggett's back. He's played at the national level before, and I think Leish has recognised that and has brought him back, obviously, to fill some spots. And again, he's got another big role. He's one of the he's still young, but he's one of the guys who's actually got experience in the league, so he'll know what it's about. And then they've got, before we get onto the imports, a lot of two-way players. And we'll start with the ones who's got the two-way with Raiders, and that is Harvey Briggs. And again, 21 years old, he's on the two-way with the Buccaneers, but I think we could see him play quite a few games this season for the Romford Raiders. He's got 11 points in back-to-back. Got 11 points last season with Streatham, and obviously that's at quite a good level. So I think he's ready to make that jump, Charlie.
Yeah, I think Briggs is. I don't think he got probably the role he would have wanted at Streatham.
Stacked team, innit?
He had a better year the year before with the National One Raiders. So yeah, I think apparently he's a good skater. And yeah, he's 21. Again, as I said to many other players, he's going to be hungry. He's going to want that spot. So it's going to be fun to see them battle it out.
Yeah, and then what we've been to, oh, actually, Luca Pascal as well is another one who's going to be on a two-way as well. Obviously, the D-man, Pascal, they're brothers, so he's going to be playing with the Buccaneers and the Raiders. But onto the system which we've talked about, Dan, or I've hinted at, is the little two-way system they got with the Slough Jets. And then this interests us a lot because it includes Luke Smittle, it includes both the Moore brothers, Christian Moore and Sebastian Moore, and then also Jack Goodchild. And those last three I've mentioned are very good point scorers. They carried Slough last season in points. And this could be a real good opportunity for them to get some more games in the NHL, the National League. And we know that Jack's played in it before, and also Christian's played in it with Bristol. And Seb is what, only 16, 17 years old, I think? So he's 18, sorry, just turned 18. So he'll really be looking to try and, again, just like the other youngsters, establish himself in our league. Because they are really talented.
This is really exciting for Romford and for Slough because this partnership is going to be so strong if it works out how they want it to. Obviously, Romford, you've got a team here with gaps. They've got gaps in their roster and they need to be filled. And you've got players in Slough that are top end players in that league and are ready to be moved up. So what you've got there is you've got a perfect pathway for them to go into this national team with a really high role, as well as growing their game personally, obviously in being in the National League to where they want to go to. And these players that they've got a two-way with, it was waiting to happen. Like these guys are ready to go up. Like
they are ready. Like Jack Goodchild, 71 points in 28 games last season. Sebastian Moore, 17, 64 points in 28 games. You got 37 goals. Like, you don't see many goal scorers at that level, at that age. And then Christian Moore, we know he's a grinder. He got 37 points in 24 games. They can replicate even half of that or a third of that into the national. That's perfect for Raiders.
And the thing that's really good about this as well is for these players personally, they've got that security. Obviously, they've got Romford, so they can play for Romford. Say they had sort of a rough start of the year, they've still got Slough, so they can still play for Slough, and they know they're established in that league, so they gain confidence from that. Yeah. And so having that security with both teams and being able to have that option of growing your game, and I'm sure Romford are going to be asking for them quite a bit. I don't think they're going to be players that are going to be playing like the odd game here and there. I think they're going to be quite regular on that roster when obviously Slough allow it.
Yeah, and I think Slough will have dibs because they are fully signed up with Slough, but they're in the NHL one. They only have 34 games in a season, whereas in our league they have 54. So there'll be plenty of opportunities, whether that's home or away, for them to play.
And I think Smittle is really good at growing his Brit, so I think Smittle isn't going to hold him back from playing in this National League. And I think he takes real pride in growing these players. And if he sees these players evolving into the National League, I think he's going to take real pride in that, knowing that it was him that sort of got them started and got them going.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. I'm excited to see some of those guys play. Charlie, the import man. You love talking about the imports and know the leagues quite well. We'll start with Andrew Schufelt, who has joined the Raiders. 28 years old, bags of experience, 5'10", can play on either wing. He played in the U Sports system, and he's also played ECHL and SPHL. And then last season, he was playing in the France 2 League, which is a good level. We've seen a couple of imports come from that league, a point per game as well, Charlie. I'll hand it over to you to talk about Andrew.
Great signing. Good leagues, good stats in the U Sports League. Good. He played in the ECIHL, which, put it in context, Grant Cooper comes from that league, etc. It's a good league. Most players who come from that league correlate really well into our league. Then he played in the France second tier, which is our players like Ballas and Roberts come out of it. And he performed well there. He got a point a game there. SPHL, if fans don't know as well. That's a league. And what I quite like about this signing is he's 28 and he's played 3 years since U Sports. So he's like he's a good player. Do you know what I mean? Like he's established himself now. He's already played a season in Europe. So I think I just like the fact he's a slightly more experienced head in that dressing room. They've not just signed a fresh young player out of U Sports, a bit like the next guy, but it's a very, very good signing, and he should correlate really well to National League level. He should do very well in this league. Like when I'm talking very well, I'm talking he'll be a good import. Like he's going to be a solid import. Definitely an upgrade on last season's by his CV.
Yeah, especially because they are going to rely a lot more than last season on their imports to get points to make up for some of those top players they've lost. And we always knew that Lewisham was going to bring in a couple of sneaky imports. And this guy, Dan, Sean Miller, obviously Charlie just mentioned, he's just come out of the U Sports. So he's a young, hungry lad, only 25 years old, plays on the right, and he got a point per game in the U Sports. 22 points last season in 24. He had a little stint in the ECHL as well, got 4 points in 15 games. This guy looks exciting. He really does look exciting. Sean Miller.
Yeah, when you get an import from the youth sports that's getting a point per game, you know he's a solid offensive guy, because the defence in that league is very, very tough to beat. Yeah. And I think what Leisham's going to love about this is he's got 2 imports that he can now mould to his game.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know how good Lewisham plays. If he gets these 2 imports playing to the best of their abilities on these lines, getting the best out of the Brits that they've got, I think this is going to be really exciting. I think the 2-way game from both is going to be really important. Obviously, both having stints in the youth sports, that's what they love. They love having that 2-way game. But also being able to get that point production from both of them and getting those goals is also going to be a big factor, because they, like you said, they haven't got these Brits now to sort of share it out. These imports are the guys, and they've got to show up. So I think Leisham's going to love playing with these guys and sort of training these guys and really getting him into the Romford style of play.
Sean Miller, actually, in his last 2 seasons of U Sports, 52 penalty minutes, 58 penalty minutes. So I think he's going to be able to keep up with that physical side of the league as well. And I think they're going to just have fun playing in Romford. And this is what we were talking about, Charlie, off camera. We were saying that they're going to be playing together possibly, or maybe one of them on the top line. But the top 6 it's going to score a lot of points, isn't it?
I think on paper, I'll be honest, obviously with the losses Lewisham had to deal with, I think he's done an excellent job. I think he signed 2 excellent looking imports. Definitely a caliber up of their past import signings. You're talking guys who have, Sean Miller, who's been a point a game at U Sports, and Shufit, who's over half a point a game at U Sports, and that always correlates well to our league. And they look hungry, they look ready, and you've got Lewisham, Sean Miller, Shufit, Tjay Anderson, and Jake Sylvester in the top 6. All of them guys are gonna do phenomenally in our league, and then there's an opportunity for a 6th player to go in that top 6 role there. I really like Romford's team this year. I think their signings have been great, and I think they've picked up some players who are going to want opportunities. The ones I'd name are Aidan Wilson, Briggs, obviously the Slough boys, but they're not full time. Obviously Joe Tomlin, and then you've got Tyler Nixon and potentially one of the 2 younger D-men as well. And so I think this is going to be a great year for Romford. I think they're going to have a fun year, and I think, don't get me wrong, like Romford fans listening, will you play as dominant hockey as last year? Probably not. You did have a very good squad last year, but have you got a project under a good coach who's put together a good team considering the circumstances? Yes. Yeah. And do I think he can improve on this team? 100%. He lost Zach Milton, Norcliffe, and Connolly, and their forward core still looks good.
I agree.
I'm excited.
The player which we did talk about who's left to go and get that Elite League opportunity is Brindley Caps. And I really hope they do give him an opportunity. And in a couple months' time, he's not having to get a two-way. And even if he does have a two-way, maybe that will be the best way for him. But I hope he gets given an opportunity, because I think we were saying in that top six, if you stick Brindley between the two imports and then you have Sylvester Lashram and Tjay Anderson, that top six is absolutely deadly.
However you have it,
but without him, it does, like you said, it does create an opportunity for one of those younger guys to snatch it and grab it, and that could even be one of the Slough guys who goes on there for the weekend. But we'll have to see.
However you have that top six, like whoever you put with whoever, like obviously there's 5 guys, like I mentioned, them 5 guys. Whoever you put with whoever they are, like whether you play 3 imports and Tjay and Sylvester, or you play 2 imports, Tjay and then Sylvester import. However you do it, it's gonna be sick. They're gonna do wow. Like they're gonna score goals. And at home, I think they'll always be good. They're always good in their home rink. So yeah, they're one of my teams which I do get along well with Tjay, which probably makes me slightly biased towards them. But they're one of the teams I'm actually really excited to watch this year. I just think like when we play them, like I'd be surprised if there's not many goals.
Yeah, Dan.
I think there'll be goals going in.
What I relate it to a little bit is it's a little rebuild, just like Bristol have had a little rebuild. Bristol signed a lot of young players who are going to be hungry to establish themselves. And it's similar with Raiders. I do believe Raiders have a few more stars in the team than Bristol in that forward core. But it's similar in the fact that it is a little rebuild. I think Raiders fans do need to realise that they have lost a lot of those core players who have been a big part of their team the last couple seasons, including Power and Wells as well, who Charlie didn't mention. But it is they are replacing with those younger players who in a couple years' time will be hopefully taking that next stage as well. So I think it's a really exciting project, like Charlie said. And it's going to be a fun. It's going to be so fun to watch them this season. I think, as Charlie said, goals galore.
Yeah, I think Lashram's done a really good job, and I think he's doing it in a very smart way. I think the balance that he's got between youngsters, bringing the imports in, obviously the core group of guys that he's managed to keep. I think having that balance is really key to obviously progression and getting this core really, really tight together.
Yeah.
So I think Lashram's going to really enjoy working with these guys actually, because he's obviously an unreal player, and I think having this chance in the first time in his career to be a leader of this and be coaching what he's got in front of him and really play it towards his game, I think he's going to really love having this team with him. And I think these players are really going to respect Lashram, and I think they're really going to like him as a coach. And I think the style of play that he's going to play is going to be sort of, because of his Canadian background, it's going to be sort of a North American style. And I think bringing that into Romford is not only going to excite the fans, but it's also going to bring out the best in these players, I think. And yeah, they're going to be a really exciting team on the ice.
It should colorate well over to the National League, actually. And Lashram has played in this league for a few seasons now, so he's not silly. Like he knows what it's about, and every player we spoke to who's played with Lash has had nothing but good words to say about him. So it's very exciting. Expectations then, and we'll start with you, Charlie. Obviously losing quite a lot of them core players, but gaining a lot of those younger players and 2 good imports. What's your kind of expectation going into the next season for the Raiders?
Make playoffs. I want them to finish at least 8th, continue that playoff streak they've got. To be honest, I think I'd like to see them create a gap between 8th and whoever's below them. We'll see in my predictions where I predict them. I'm still in an R in a couple positions, but yeah, I think they need to create a little gap between them and the team who's battling them for playoffs or whatever. I just think make their home rink a tough place to play.
Like it always has been, really.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting them to go to MK. There's some very, very good teams at the top end of this league, and they have lost a bit of their depth. And I do think they will go to some games, and it will be high score against them. But I want them to be able to beat a Leeds at home once this season, beat MK at home once or twice, beat Swindon in their rink. Hopefully not.
No, hopefully not.
You know what I mean? That's the sort of
I know what you mean.
I have on them is just. I think at home, I really think this team can be just such a pain in the ass. Like they're that type of team. And like I was just looking at it, they could have a third line of Jacob Ranson, Joe Tomlin, and maybe Harvey Briggs or Brandon Ailiff. Like, imagine Brandon Ailiff, Joe Tomlin, and Ransom as a third line. They just rat out games, just be annoying, like get in the way. And so yeah, I think now I think getting playoffs is a big important thing, and just competing.
Yeah, Dan, it'll be interesting actually. We'll get your expectation as well, but Bees last season, they relied a lot heavily on their top two lines for point scoring, but the third and the fourth line just ratted it out. They did their job. I could see similar stuff happening with the Raiders. Their top two lines doing the business, the imports doing the business, just like Ballas and Gabai did. And then the second lines, the third and the fourth line, really grinding it out, giving those top guys rest, and just supporting Ethan James as much as they can.
Yeah, one thing that Lasham is gonna want is he's gonna want that full team defensive unit.
Yeah.
He's gonna want 100% work rate from everyone. He's not gonna want people putting in 50%, 25% effort. He wants 100% every game. He's gonna be wanting to show that he's not gonna back down from these big clubs. He knows his quality, and he knows the team that he's got. And he's not going to go into these games thinking that he's the lower end team. He's going to be going into these games thinking, I'm happy with this team. I know what this team can do, and I know we can beat any team on our day. And I think that's something that he needs to send through the whole team. And I'm sure Cooper's going to help with that as well, being captain. But he just got to get that mindset of being like, we're going to win this. Like on our night, we are a very good team, and we just have to work for it. And I think, the hard work and with all these young guys is going to be really big for Romford.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think they will be looking to try and make playoff, cause a few upsets, and really hope that some of these younger guys can establish themselves and be some future Romford talents. Charlie, wants to watch then. You got a lot to pick from. We said that they're the team which you could choose anyone, really, any of the new guys. So who have you gone for?
Come back to me.
Okay, Dan, who is your wants to watch from the Raiders?
I'm going to go with Jake Sylvester. It might be a bit boring because of the players that there are, but I'm going to go Jake Sylvester because I think we've seen what he can do. We know he can score his goals, but this season is going to be very different for him. I think he is now got that really big responsibility, like we said. Like, he is going to be a guy that a lot of people are going to be looking at, because you look past the imports, so look past the 3 imports. The next guy you're expecting for points is sort of Sylvester and sort of Tjay Anderson, you know? So I think now Sylvester's got himself into this position where he is going to be one of those main guys. And I think he's a perfect guy to be in that role, because he knows his quality and he knows what he can do. And throughout past seasons, he's always showed that he can do it. And I think we're going to see a really big year from him.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Joe Tomlin. I think it's just such a exciting young talent who's really shown himself to the fans and other players as well that he can be a big guy in this league, and wherever he plays, whether that's on the second line or on the third line, he's got a big role this season, because he's not a player who's going to be on that two-way. He is fully Romford this season. We could even see him up with Cardiff as well if they want him. So yeah, I think Joe Tomlin is the ones to watch for me. Charlie?
I'm gonna go with him again. I'm gonna go with Tjay Anderson again.
For goodness sakes!
The reason I'm going with Tjay is because I think he is criminally underrated in the league, and I think for me he's top 2, maybe even number 1 under 20 player in the league, and I think he's gonna really establish himself as that this year. I think people's heads will be completely, oh my days, this kid's really good, and I'm good mates with him. I back him, and I think Tjay Anderson will be one of the young superstars of the league. I really think people will look at him very differently at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, Charlie always calls me boring, but I'm sorry. I know he's your mate, but that is a boring pick. Shout out though to a couple. Aidan Wilson, I think, is a big season as well, and Tyler Nixon, obviously coming back into NIHL. I think those are little honourable mentions as well. But yeah, you could say anyone from that team. We really hope you've enjoyed this episode. Quite a long one of us talking, and we hope you've enjoyed the Tjay interview as well. Yeah, I'm excited for the Raiders next season. I think there's going to be some high-scoring games, but I also hope that they can really focus in on protecting Ethan James this season because we know how good he can be on his day. So yeah, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please do follow all of our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey. Please do go watch back all of our team specials just before the season starts so you can get an insight on every team. And we've got one more special left, the Solway Shark special. So we'll see you in that one. Peace.
Bye-bye.